look at we're going to look at poetry. We're going to look at our outline today is my story. I'm going to tell my story, how the journey has been for me 7 years into this. And then we're going to talk about introduction to poetry. We're also going to talk about poetry structure, and we're going to talk about overcoming stage fright. Overcoming stage fright. Yeah, so let's get straight into it. So, first question I'm going to ask you is why do you write poetry? You know, and I could ask myself that question as well. My story basically is while growing up, I didn't have any I didn't have any talent, and I grew up in church. Not that I was living in church, not that I was living in church, but I grew up in church. I do go to church for rehearsals with my brother, and they'll be dancing. I will join the dance. They will tell me to sit down because the I'm not getting the dance right, or my body is stiff and things like that. So that was it for me. And although primary school I danced, we choreographed. I think every primary school person danced, So we danced. It was compulsory for everyone, so I danced. But I knew that dancing was not for me. I knew that it was not for me. So I looked at singing. I tried singing. Jesus, it was very terrible. Even till now, God is helping me, But I looked at singing. Singing didn't work for me, and because everybody had a talent, but me, I didn't have any until after secondary school. During secondary school, I'm a science student. I did not, I did not do arts and all those things. I only did English. It's compulsory. English is compulsory. So I didn't do anything art. In fact, I did not like art. I did not even like poetry. I was poetry. I did not like poetry at all. So that was it. I'm a student of science. I'm a science student rather. And then after secondary school, it came to me. I would say that poetry picked me because it came to me as a talent. Came to me as a talent. I did not have any art background or any English background per se. So I wrote my first poem in 2017. 2017, I wrote my very first poem, and that's how it has been. I've been on that journey since 2017 till today. Although when I wrote my first poem 2017, I could not perform it because I had stage fright. Yes, I had stage fright. So I was to perform it that 2017, but I could not. I told them I'm not doing again because I wrote the poem to perform, but eventually I could not summon the courage to, and then we have to move it to 2018. And 2018, it took the courage in me I had to man up and face it, and you know take it head on. And 2018, I did it. Glory. I did it, and it has just been wonderful from one level of growth to another till this very point. So even if you're where I was, or even if I was like you too, even if you've not been able to perform at all, you want to perform, but this stage fright thing, we're still going to deal with it before the end of this broadcast. So you should stay to the end, and I have some bonuses for you at the end of this broadcast, at the end of this live. So yeah, it's I want to encourage you. I know what it means to be in your shoes, and we're going to deal with it. But I want you to know that it's possible. You can do it. I was there. I did it. So you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. I believe so much in you, and I know that you can do it. So basically, for me, I write and perform poetry to make impact with my voice. I write and perform poetry to make impact with my voice. Majorly, the niches I write on is Christian poetry, motivation poetry, and love poetry. I think I can call myself a love poet now because I've written a couple of love poems, and yes, a couple, a number, a good number, a handful actually, and they are great. And I'm still going to write more. So I can call myself a love poet. I always live in that self denial that no, I don't want to be a love poet and stuff like that. And many poets like to deny being tagged a love poet. I don't know why, but I guess I can say that I'm a love poet now. So basically, motivation, Christian, and love poem. Those are the niche that I major on. I major on. So let's dive. That is my story, and you've heard it from me. Let me tell you an embarrassing story as well. The most embarrassing story of my poetic journey, of my poetry journey. Anytime I have opportunity to talk about poetry, I always share this, and I really learned so much from that, and it really made me to always prepare ahead, always be very good. I cannot go and perform any poem and I will not be prepared. So I put in the work. I put in the work to prepare a lot. So there was this poetry, not poetry, it was a theater hangout, and it was a ticketed hangout. You know, people paid to enter, and so they invited me to come and perform. I came, performed the first time. Woo, very great. The second time, they said we should just do the same thing. And since I've done it before, I was confident that I don't really need to rehearse. So I didn't rehearse, I think, until that day or the day before. That's when I rehearsed. And the day came and started performing. It was actually a duet. And I've been saying many and. So it was actually a duet. My partner, Victoria, such a great lady, you know, she was performing my part, I performed my part, then we entered this I entered the next verse, she entered the next verse. I think it was the third verse or the second verse of mine that I forgot my line. I forgot my line for like 10 to 15 seconds. Like the gap was obvious. The gap was obvious. And I just froze on stage. I froze on stage, trying to get myself together. Excuse me. So I froze on stage trying to get myself together, and I of course I got myself after 15 seconds, you know. But then I really learned a great deal from that, and I don't think it can ever happen again for me to perform a poem and I'll forget my line. And I'm going to show you how not to forget lines, but not in this class, to be on another class. So major things you just need to do not to forget lines. You will never forget lines if you take what I'm going to tell you. So I'm going to. So I forgot my lines and I felt like entering the stage that day. I feel like entering the stage. I was like, oh my god, what is this? How? What should I do? I just picked up from there, you know, and 10 to 15 seconds. So if it was going to be a pause, of course, when I perform poetry, there are times that you could pause, but this one, the pause was long, so it was obvious. It was obvious, and you know, I felt like entering the ground that day. But then I learned. It was that day I learned my greatest lesson in poetry, and I've been better ever since. Better ever since. So let's go straight to the introduction of poetry. Poetry really is beautiful. I believe before the end of this class, you will fall in love with it, like I have. That is, if you've not fallen in love with it. For the fact that you're here, I know that you love poetry and you want to be better. The truth is that we are all poets. We are all poets. Every one of us writes. You know, of course, you have used like or as before while writing, when writing. And that is simile. That is simile is a figure of speech, using words like that. But what makes a great poet? I will share that shortly. you know so I'm talking about poetry. What is poetry? Poetry is one of the three forms of literature, which is prose, drama, poetry. Prose, drama, poetry. Poetry means to create. It began as a verb. History has it that poetry as History has it that poetry as an oral art form predates written text, and it has been here for over 4,000 years. Poetry is believed to have been recited or sung. So that's what, if you check people, there's no if you check research, if you research and check online, check um, different different things on poetry, different materials or resource on poetry, you will find out that that there's no exact date that you can say this is when poetry started. But estimated 4,000 years, over 4,000 years ago. So the earliest poetry is believed to have been recited, sorry, or sung. So poetry can be dramatic, it can be lyrical and narrative. An experiment was carried out using robots. They couldn't write poetry. They used robots to write poetry. Only humans can write it because it deals with thoughts and emotions which robots don't have. But now it has been induced into, you know, AI. We have ChatGPT, we have Sidebar, we have different AI, and now AI can actually write poem. But the thing is that in as much as it cannot really write it as much as a human that is good can, because it's just static. What do I mean by static? It's static in the sense that everything everything is just, you still have to do some adjustment to it to make it stand out and make it good and communicable to your audience or your readers. So AI in itself cannot really write it well. And I would advise that you should not even use AI unless you are very good, you've been at it for a long time, you are very good at poetry, because it can distort your creativity. But when you practice anything, be it poetry or anything, when you keep on practicing, you get better and better. So if you start using AI, it will de- deplete your creativity in writing poetry. So it's better you just write it yourself and keep on growing and getting better from there. So poetry is a form of creative writing that uses special language features to discuss things, ideas, emotions. It's a form of creative writing that use special language features to discuss things, ideas, emotions. Now, is there any difference between performance poetry and a poem? I would say yes. Yes, actually. Performance poetry is the use of words and language to evoke a writer's feeling and thoughts, while a poem is the arrangement of these words. I don't know if we are following. If you are following, type in the chat, I'm following. So, performance poetry is the use of words and language when we perform it to evoke a writer's feelings and thoughts, while a poem is the arrangement of these words. So a poem is more of, the one we write, the written one. So um, in performance, you're allowed to breathe, pause, shout, express yourself. Also, in written, in poems, um, you are also allowed to do that. You're also allowed to do that. There are some techniques that you can use and tools that you can use to do that. And when people are reading, you know that okay, this person is shouting here. This poet is shouting at this point. This poet is taking a pause. You know. So poetry can reveal many things as well as conceal many things to a reader and even the writer. So sometimes I even read my poem and I'm like, did I get a deeper meaning of what I wrote. I read my poem and I get a deeper meaning. I be like, whoa, I did not even see this when I was writing it. I did not see this when I was writing it. And even to the reader has the right to interpret, and also we get interpret has the right to interpret on his own terms. So basically, poetry, it's reveal many things as well as conceal many things to a reader and even the writer. To me, poetry deals with detail. Some people might not agree. It takes, because for me, poetry takes the seemingly insignificant things and shows the significance of that thing, and also emphasize on the significant ones too. So poetry, that's the details I'm talking about. Like, it takes the seemingly insignificant things and shows the significance of those seemingly, I said seemingly, not that it's insignificant, seemingly insignificant things, and shows the significance of that thing. You know, it just helps us to pay attention to things, and also it also emphasizes on the significant ones too. Poetry is really beautiful. I define poetry as a language with multiple interpretations. Multiple interpretations. You know, talking about poetry, poetry has no rules. That is one thing I really like and love about, I enjoy about poetry. There's no rules. There's no rules at all. At all. So you are free to do what you can. In fact, poetry means to create. So you can create whatsoever. It's still evolving. It's still evolving, just like English language is still evolving. So poetry is also still evolving. You know, I look forward to trying poetry with guitar instruments. Looking forward to trying poetry with um, ballet dancers, different things, violin, and people have tried all sorts, wonderful things. If you go online, you could see different mixtures of poetry and other art forms. You know, that um, theater, I don't say theater, that theater feeling, you know, that theater input of poetry, it just brings out the beauty. It just brings out the beauty, you know. And it was when I experienced poetry firsthand that I began to say, wow, that I can really do this. And I began to build interest. That was after secondary school, like I said earlier. You know, I began to build interest that this thing I could really do this, and this is beautiful. I didn't know poetry as this, and there are many people that has this predominant knowledge of poetry, and so no matter what you tell them, they won't accept, they don't like it until they experience it firsthand, like I did. Some people might have experienced it, but probably the poet didn't deliver very well. Probably it didn't deliver very well. But when you experience rich poetry, my God, you must like it. I guarantee you. So poetry has no rules, but it has structure. Structure, on the other hand, it refers to the way it refers to the way the poem is organized and the relationship between the different parts of the poem. So this includes elements such as stanza length, rhyme scheme, and meter. The structure of the poem can impact the way your reader or audience experience and interpret the poem, as it can create a sense of rhythm and flow, or a feeling of fragmentation or dissonance. So structure is very, very, very important. In as much as poetry has no rules, but structure is really, really important. That's what makes your poem beautiful. That's what gives it rhythm. You know, all every art form, there's a rhythm to it. Songs, it flows, there's a rhythm. Rap, it flows, there's a rhythm. Dance, it flows, there's a rhythm. So it gives it rhythm, um, um, stanza, stanza length, and yes, the meter. So um, let's talk about stanza. Well, stanza is a section of a poem that is named for the number of lines it contains. So if there's no space in between your poems, like let's say verses, like split, if there's no space between your poems are just written down, it's already looking boring. I would not want to read that. So if you check poems, check online, check poetry books, anthologies, you will see that there are spaces in between. You know, it gives it makes it more attractive. especially for a long poem, you definitely should have you have to put lines in between. It has to be categorized in stanzas. For a long poems, from 6 lines and above, you should categorize them in stanza. So a stanza could be a couplet. Couplet means in twos. So after 2 lines, there's a space, then 2 lines, a space. It could be in threes, that is tercets, and four quatrain, and the likes like that. So a 6 line poem can be also be broken into two tercets. I said tercet is three. So three, three lines, then a space, the next stanza, 3 lines. That is six. So that is very, very important. Stanza, every poem should have stanzas. And let's talk about music. Number two, music. When we talk about music, we talk about end rhymes, we talk about rhythm, we talk about alliteration, and so many things. So many things. So end rhymes is when you have same or similar sounds at the end of words that finish different lines. So for example, car. For example, now, what lines go with car? Far. Yeah, for example, car, far, mass. Okay, mass is not. So, for example, car, far. So let's do mass now. The end of this is mass. So we have stars, we have cars, you know, all those things. Those are end rhymes. Those are end rhymes. Same or similar sounds of at the end of words that finish different lines. So each line just end with end with the same or similar sounds. So we also have rhythm under this is still under music. We also have rhythm, and this is just the basic beats in a line of a poem. It's just how it flows, just the how it flows. For example, now I'm going to recite a poem at the end of this live masterclass. So, for example, now, what makes a poem a poem? Is it the comma that observes milliseconds of silence in the middle of a sentence that is seemingly not in the court of law? What makes a poem a poem? Is it the alliterated illustration of written or spoken words that sparks the imagination to paint creative pictures? I'm already into my poem. So, like, there has to be a flow. There has to be a rhythm to your flow. In fact, this is not even rhythm enough. This is just one of my poems that I'm just saying. This is not even rhythm enough. Like when you see Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, how I wonder, hey, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, that one has rhythm. Mary has a little lamp, little lamp. Mary has a little lamp, and stuff like that. So those ones have rhythm. Those are poems actually, and those ones have rhythm, has rhythm. Well, don't arrest me if I don't remember it since primary school. So we also have alliteration. Alliteration is repetition of consonant sound at the beginning sound of neighboring words. So it's the repetition of like consonant sounds at the beginning sounds of neighboring sounds. So what do I mean? We have vowel sounds, we have consonant sound. So what I'm saying is this. For example, we have she sells, she I have issue with S. She sells seashells. She sells seashells. Somebody should say that for 10 times. So that's an example of what I'm saying. So let's get into dealing with stage fright and then we'll wrap up from here. I'm going to share bonus points with you and I have a gift for you at the end of this. So stay to the end. Stick with me. Stick with me. So dealing with stage fright, the very first thing in dealing with stage fright is that you have to believe that you can do it. You know, one thing I noticed was that I had low self-esteem. I was dealing. I had low self-esteem that period, so I could not see myself doing this. Standing on stage and talking, performing in front of people. I didn't see myself. I'm like, who am I? Low self-esteem. I was dealing with that. So first thing I want you to know is that you can do it. You can do it. I believe in you. If you need someone to believe in you, I believe in you strongly, and I know that you can do it. Just take a step of faith. And the truth is that when you do the first one, yeah, you're good to go. Other ones, you can deal with it. But I performed I performed a poem 2 weeks. I think it's up to 2 weeks now. I think 2 weeks back or 1 week back. And while I wanted to go to the stage, while I wanted to while I when I was about to get to the stage, my heart was beating. So everybody feels that. Everybody feels that when is that time to go to the stage and perform or do one thing or the other. There's just this heartbeat. It's part of the process. Don't worry, your heart will beat too. Your heart will beat. So um, your heart is going to beat. Just get ready. But then when you get to stage, just calm down. You are in charge of the stage. When you get to the stage, everybody is listening to you. Take charge of the stage. So that heartbeat is part of the process. That you are, even if you prepared so well, it's there. And one other thing that can help is the first thing I said is you can do it. It's possible. Second thing I said it's part of the process. The third thing I said is know your audience. Okay, I've not said that. I'm saying it now. The third thing is know your audience. You have to know your audience, the people you are talking to, the kind of people you are talking to. Are you talking to teenagers? Are you talking to youths? Are you talking to older people, people in their 40s? Are you talking to just men or are you talking to women or mixed? So know your audience, know the kind of people that you are going to talk with. That will help you prepare so that you not come to stage and you'll be shocked that so that will help you prepare and know what you're up against, the battle you're up against. So I always know my audience anytime I am opportune to perform, you know. So the fourth thing I'm going to say is prepare. Like I cannot overemphasize on preparation. Preparation cannot be overemphasized on. You have to prepare. Like I was sharing with you the other time. In fact, sometimes my heart beats races very fast. You know, it's when I'm not prepared. I know that oh God, help me, help me on stage. But after that experience that I had, I forgot my lines. I dare not go to stage unprepared. I prepare. A 5 minutes poem, it takes me at least 5 hours to rehearse and prepare for it. Like the least that it can take me, the least it can take me is 5 hours, and I do more than that actually. So put in preparation, put in the work. So you have to prepare anytime you're having a you're having anytime that you want to perform, you have to prepare anytime that you are going on stage. In fact, not just poetry alone, public speaking, anything. You have preparation is part of it. You have to prepare. There's the pre. You don't just go there and So the fifth thing I'm going to say is that you have to know your poem backward and forward. You have to know your poem backward and forward, like into. Like if I wake you right now, Emmanuel, stand up, go to stage and perform. You should be able to. So you have to know your poem in total. Know it backward, forward, inside, outside. Know it. Know your poem. Know your poem. Know your poem. Know your poem. So it's very, very important. Know your poem backward and forward. And the final thing I'm going to say on dealing with stage fright is know exactly how you are going to present it. Know exactly how you are going to present it. You have to know exactly how you're going to present it. In fact, sometimes when I go on stage, I'll be like, there was one time I was performing and I said, if you are single in the house, if you are single here, say I'm single, something like that. In fact, jokes, I prepare them and I know exactly how I'm going to say them while reciting or presenting or performing or ministering the poem, depending on the context. So I know exactly what I'm saying first. I know how I'm going to say it. In fact, down to how my body movements. I know how I'm going to. I rehearse my body movement, rehearse my tonation, rehearse my diction, rehearse, you know, the words and the emotions, everything. In fact, there was a time that I cried on stage. That was also rehearsed. It's performance. It's performance. It's performance actually. Although there are sometimes that it just happens so that it's real, like you're in the moment. You know, there are times that there are some things I don't write on stage. I can just say something that is not even part of the plan. I could just flow, I can freestyle, for my poem when I'm done. So know exactly how you are going to present it. And this is just a bonus point. Speak, perform. That's for those of us that are performing. Any of us can actually perform. So when you are performing, perform as if you are performing to one person. Just like in your room, you are talking to your mirror, but these are actually real people. So you have to put in some emotions, you have to be real and all. But perform as if you are talking to one person. So if you're just starting out, you might not have the luxury of making different eye contact. You can just focus on one person that is focused on you and then use that and nail in on that person and deliver your lines. Deliver your lines. So, but for me, um, having done this over 7 years, I could actually look at. So with practice, you can begin to look at different people. In fact, there was a day that I was performing and I was doing a love poem. I was performing a love poem, and the person that I was supposed to perform the love poem to came late, so she was not there. I had to change the poem on stage and call another person, you know, right there. So you can take advantage of the situation. Sometimes, let's say something happens while you're performing, light goes out, or something happens. You just take advantage, flow, still continue from there, still flow from there. That was makes you a great poet. So speak as if you are talking to one person. Talk to one person, and you'll be good. You'll be good actually. You can you can practice when rehearsing. You could rehearse with your sibling, probably your mom. Our parents are always supportive, I believe. My parents supportive. I can actually do that. Rehearse in front of them and say, "Oh, watch my poem." Because the truth is, if you are just performing for the first time and you do not perform in front of anybody, even till now, I still practice sometimes. You don't perform in front of anybody, and you are going on stage and you're just seeing everybody, you can get overwhelmed. It happened to one lady that wanted to start out poetry, and she got overwhelmed, forgot her line, said it again, forgot the line. That, like, she repeated the line that she said, that to the point that she forgot, and said it again, she still forgot it, and she just broke down crying on stage. You could imagine. So perform in front of somebody, so that when you're looking at somebody, you already have that feel that, okay, you're talking to somebody, and so when you get there, you just do the same thing. Public, performing publicly is, use the mindset of also performing just to one person. So use adjectives. This is also a bonus. Use adjectives. Storytellers will always say, don't just tell, show. Show them. Don't just tell, show. If you are getting value from this video, can you hit the like button, hit the like button, hit the like button. So show rather than tell, show, express. Use adjectives in your words while writing, and while performing, use gestures, while performing. So this is a practice. So just tell me what you learned from this video. Tell me what you learned from this video. Tell me what you learned from this video in the comment section. Tell me one point, one thing that you learned for this video that you will start practicing today. Tell me one thing that you learned from this video that you start practicing today. So if you want to, so I'm going to perform a poem at the end of this. So if you have any question, can type it in the comment section. Can type it in the comment section. If you have any question, go ahead to type it in the comment section. So I'm still going to perform my poem, and before I perform the poem, I'm going to train 20 people personally on this poetry subject. I'm going to show you how you are going to um, how to make money with poetry, how to brand yourself as a poet. One thing I noticed about poets is that they don't make money from what they do. So there's actually a way to make money from poetry, and I'm going to show you that. And I'm going to show you how you're going to brand yourself as a poet and position yourself in such a way that invites will be coming. In fact, I had an invite I still had an invite last week. I could not go because I couldn't make it actually. So I'm going to show you how to brand yourself, position yourself. I'll show you how not to forget lines. Never forget lines again. And I'll also show you how to give your poem depth rather than just writing surface. Rather than just writing surface, I'm going to show you how to give your poem depth. I'm also going to show you how to make your poem colorful and attractive. I'll show you how to carry your readers and audience along, how to carry your readers, be it you're writing, be it is written or you are performing. I'm going to show you how to carry your readers and audience along. And also going to show you 10 poets, share with you 10 poets in the world, 10 top best poets, in my opinion, that you should listen to, that you should start listening to. And I'm also going to show you how to overcome writer's block. So if you're interested, if you want to join this workshop, you want to be among the 20 people, just 20 people, and it's going to be in April this month. If you're interested, you can click the link in the description. The link is going to be in the description, and you just click the link, and then um, every details will be communicated. But then the class is just 5,000 naira. But for today, I'm going to pay 1,000 naira for as many people that are going to register today. It's just 20 slots available. So take advantage of it, and I'll see you in class. So down to my poem. If you have any question, please ask. Go ahead to ask. Go ahead to ask. So down to my poem. Are you ready? Are you ready to hear it? Give me a thumbs up if you are ready to hear it. So I already started it. What makes a poem a poem? Is it the comma that observes milliseconds of silence in the middle of a sentence that is seemingly not related to the court of law? What makes a poem a poem? Is it the alliterated illustration of written or spoken words that sparks the imagination to paint colorful pictures? What makes a poem a poem? Is it the metaphoric depth, the ironic euphemism, or personified oxymoron? Oh, I'm sorry, this is not an English class, but this is a poetry class. You see, I just put that in right now. So let's continue. But what makes a poem is not just the euphoria that comes with the completion of a masterpiece. It's not just the filtered language it allows. It's not just the number of verse or rhymes. What makes a poem is not just the size, whether it is short as a haiku or long as a sestina. Yes, they all have their distinct functions, but after all is said and done, what makes a poem is the life it brings, the hope it gives, the heart it heals, the ear it suits, the smiles on faces, only to mention but a few. What makes a poem is you. So that's it. That's it for this video. Since there's no question, you can still put your questions if you're watching this video afterwards, and we'll answer it. We'll answer it. We'll answer it. Thank you so much for joining today. And yes, this is the end of the video. Much love, JD. Kindly subscribe if you've not subscribed to this channel for more content. In fact, the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be sharing with you for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be sharing with you tips on poetry, on how to become better as a poet. In fact, I hosted a Poets Connect whereby we shared exclusively things that a poet should know. So for the next 2 weeks straight, I'm going to share those videos with you. I myself was there, and I we had a guest, Precious Human Rights, and so you will get the videos in the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks. You'll be seeing videos like that, and you also see my poems. So you could also check down. You'll see my poems, and you could also learn one or two things from there. And I look forward to um, seeing you in class. So don't forget, today only. The offer is for today only. I'm going to pay 1,000 now for only 10 people. For only 10 people, the offer is just today. Just today. So click the link below in my description and see you. Much love, JD.